I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. I came from a close-knitted family, even though I came from a poor family. But they gave me education with the instruction that this is the tool that will help me to dig my way out of poverty and ignorance. I came without a dime in my pocket. All I had was big dreams, determination to succeed, and the resilience. So coming from another country gave me that insight to be able to understand and deal with people from different backgrounds.
I was walking into Kroger to pick up a prescription for my mom. Upon approaching the pharmacy, I slipped and fell in some liquid. I went to see my regular doctor, and that is when I knew that there was more going on from that fall. I then called Mr. Olawale, talked to him and let him know what was going on. I could just say that he's very professional and knowledgeable about what he does. He's very passionate about what he does, and he cares about his clients. I felt like I was a part of the Olawale family.
The goal is to make sure that our clients will leave feeling that someone gets them, knowing that someone was able to be the voice for them.
We needed an attorney because we needed somebody who understood the relationship between our case and the law. We had been through 4 different lawyers. We were very desperate. We knew from what we had heard that Emmanuel Olawale was the man, who could take us through that experience and see us through and give us the kind of outcome we were looking for. For him, your case is personal. He gave us hope. He gave us encouragement, and we knew that we had found the right man that would see us through.
Just know that when you're coming through the door, you're coming in through a place where you will be accepted and welcome as family, where you'll be seen as a person. At the Olawale Law Firm, we get you. We understand you. Trust us. Welcome to this episode of Legal Angle with Emmanuel the Law Olawale. I have a special guest with me today. He's coming in from all the way from Michigan to Grace Legal Angle. Welcome to the show, Erika.
Thank you.
And how is it up in Michigan?
It is cold, but I'm not too far from you. But it's a beautiful day here today. Can't complain. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for coming. Do you love the Buckeyes?
Well, I cannot admit nor deny.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I would love to. So my name is Erika Riggs, and I specialize in disability benefits. I handle Social Security disability, which is the focus of the show today, and also veterans disability benefits. In many ways, they can be similar, and I could dedicate at least a whole other show to the veterans component and the benefits available for veterans. So I would be happy to come back on and talk to anyone interested about that. But I've been specializing in disability benefits for more than a decade. I actually got started at a law firm while I was still in law school. And I was born and raised in Michigan. I opened up my own firm specializing in disability benefits called Disability Law Group with my 2 partners in January of 2019. So we're embarking here on year 4. It's been just an incredible journey. And I just love running this incredibly successful and compassionate law firm. I'm so proud of and happy to talk about with you today. And personally, I have 2 boys. I'm married, and we're very busy with sports and school and all the fun things that we do together as a family. My boys are 9 and 7. And we're a big martial arts family. So we're in the karate dojo a lot, juggling a lot of different sports and activities, and enjoying the Detroit sports. We love the city, and anytime we can have together as a family.
Thank you. What was it like growing up in Michigan?
It really was beautiful. I love the state of Michigan, Upper, Lower Peninsula. It's just beautiful. There's so much to see, so much to offer. We're not too far here where I grew up and where my law firm is from the city of Detroit, which is really booming. It's really grown tremendously over the last, decade. Restaurants and new businesses and all sorts of things to do and see. And it's really beautiful, and it's nice to have a business here close to where I grew up in Michigan, helping the community, helping people in my community, a lot of familiar faces, and that really the word just gets out about the work that you do. And it's wonderful to have built some roots here in Michigan. And even though our practice is national, we can help clients really anywhere they might live, whether it be in Michigan or in another state or quite honestly, even in another country. Disability is a federal practice under the umbrella of Social Security. So it's got that component also of being able to help people no matter where they are, but still, having roots here in Michigan.
Oh, great. What was high school like for you?
High school? Oh, wow. High school was a wild ride. It was a lot of fun trying to figure out really what I wanted to do. I think as far back as I can remember, I think I knew I wanted to be an attorney. But quite honestly, I had no attorneys in my family. I didn't have like that direct mentor, or, some attorneys may have like a family law firm that they could aspire to and knew that they maybe have the opportunity of even taking over one day. I was the first in my family to go to law school. But even going back to high school, participating in debate and really finding my way, honing in on my writing skills and language, I think it was really a great opportunity for me to explore and just really identify what I wanted to do, figuring out what college I wanted to go to, realizing I wanted to stay in Michigan and I wanted to be in the city, which is what led me to Wayne State for both my undergrad and for law school.
So you never wanted to leave?
I didn't. I love to travel. I really do. But I do love Michigan. I think this is where I will always stay put. We have a lot of family here, and we have a lot of family too elsewhere throughout the United States. But I really do love it here in Michigan.
Wow. What was your home life like growing up?
It was wonderful. I have no complaints. We have just a beautiful family. I have my father, who is still with us. He has some health problems. He's on disability himself. But he always really set a really high example for my sisters and I. I have two sisters. And, he really set that example of the importance of family first, work hard, figure out what your dream is, and you want to do what you can to go after that dream, work as hard as you can to make that a reality. But first and foremost, family comes first. And he really showed us that in integrating what he did in his professional life with us, no matter what it is that your dream is. It could be the law, it could be, providing help in some way to some person. No matter what skills you have or what profession you ultimately decide to go into, there's always an opportunity to help people. And my parents were just tremendous leaders, exemplifying that. My mother's no longer with us. She passed away just over 6 years ago to lung cancer. It was really devastating to lose her. And, I think that really helped me become an even better advocate for my clients with disabilities. But growing up, she was always there. She was always home with us. And that was really important to me. My husband stays home with my boys, and it's really important for us to have someone there at all means possible, to be there with the family, be there with the children, especially as they're young, to really help be that role model for the children. My parents were definitely that for us.
Oh, thank you. Family first. And sorry about your mom.
Thank you.
And let's watch a short clip, and we'll be right back.
My name is Erika Riggs. I grew up in St. Clair Shores, Michigan. Early on into my career, my father suffered a series of heart attacks and strokes. Shortly after, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic lung cancer. To me, it meant the world to be able to be there with my parents when they needed me most. To be able to help them through the disability process, it meant more time that they could spend with family and loved ones. They say that you haven't truly lived until you have done something for someone who can never really repay you. And that's exactly how I was raised. I knew from a young age that I was going to be an attorney and that I was going to help people during their most difficult time. I ventured to create my own disability law firm that would specialize only in disability benefits so that they can focus on what matters most. Is probably the most rewarding career that I could ever have dreamed of. My promise to you is that from the moment you contact us until your very last call, you will be treated with respect and compassion, and you will receive the best outcome possible. At Disability Law Group, every client matters.
What was it like for you seeing your dad go through that experience?
You know, it was really devastating to watch your father, you know, someone who you look up to, you have looked up to your entire life, someone who's always there for you, always there to help you in your time of need, you know, go through some really struggling health problems, really debilitating times, and just be, you know, vulnerable and really needing your help. Never really directly asking for it, but truly in a time of need. It was really devastating to see him that way, but it was also humbling, and it was really important for me to be able to know that I could help him, at least relieve, you know, be there for him physically, emotionally, mentally, and help him through those times, but also help him navigate the disability process. Thankfully for me, at the time, I had many years of specializing in disability. So I was well equipped at the time to be able to help him navigate that. I couldn't imagine, you know, if I were in his shoes, not having that person to go to ask questions to, even the basic ones, you know, what benefits am I entitled to? What is available for me? You know, most people I don't talk to, my parents included, you don't plan to become disabled. Maybe you realize that this may happen to you one day, but you certainly hope it doesn't. And unfortunately, when disability happens, you know, when those conditions do affect you, it's very difficult on its own to be able to navigate the health journey, to get to doctor's appointments, to see specialists and undergo testing and maybe medication trials and all sorts of things that you have to worry about that prior to your disability was not something that you were faced with. And so that alone can be very difficult for many people, especially without a strong support system. And then you add on to that in his situation where now your disability, your medical conditions are so severe that you're no longer able to work. And it becomes a really hard financial hardship that now you're faced with. And you may have been planning to work many years until you one day retire, right, is the American dream. And unfortunately, that was swept away from him early, much earlier than he had planned for. And so as you can imagine, that was also mentally very challenging for him. And so to be able to be there and help him navigate that disability process was one less thing that he had to worry about. So he could really focus on his own health and getting better and being there for all of us and for himself.
Wow, what an experience. And then your mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you learned of that diagnosis?
Yeah, that was some of the most difficult times because really she was so healthy and such a joy and such a wonderful time of her life. She was enjoying her first grandbabies. You know, my youngest son was one at the time, and she was really just enjoying life. Always the spirit of, of a party and the life of a room, and just a joy to be around. And so many people just adored her and loved her. And then, one day we get this diagnosis. She started having some pain actually in her wrists. And after, many doctor's appointments trying to figure out what was going on with her, ultimately it was decided that it was lung cancer. And she had quit smoking 10 years prior to her diagnosis. But, this type of lung cancer, the small cell lung cancer, it really can affect anybody. It is a quite deadly form of cancer. It's the top 4 deadliest forms of cancer. There's other types of lung cancer, including non-small cell lung cancer, but she had the small cell lung cancer. And at the time, there had not been any medical advancements in terms of treating that type of condition for many years, decades prior. And so the prognosis was not very good. We knew that. And at that point that it was discovered, like many people who have small cell lung cancer, it metastasizes in her situation throughout her body. It was already in her shoulder and in her hips. And, as I said, the prognosis at the time was not looking very good. So we were in and out of doctor's appointments. She was undergoing chemotherapy and radiation. And at that point, it was just quality of life, making sure we were there for her. And of course, me also navigating the Social Security disability process for her. So that, again, it was something she did not have to worry about. She knew that it would be taken care of. The application, the forms, many people get bombarded with the paperwork. So of course, my team and I took care of that for her, and it really allowed her to focus in on her healing journey. And it allowed her to, thankfully she was able to live relatively pain-free and was still able to enjoy life for a short period of time. But we took solace in knowing that she didn't suffer long in her journey.
What was it like for you to put on the lawyer act while your mom was going through that and still being able to function? Because I can't imagine the emotions knowing that you're likely going to lose your mom, someone who has raised you, someone who knows, who loves you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I mean, it really was challenging. And I think it was just such a whirlwind because everything was just happening so quickly. It was, someone who's so healthy and enjoying life and even working at that point in time and, holding her grandbabies. And then all of a sudden her life just completely shifted. And now it was, just making sure that she was as healthy as possible and getting to these doctor's appointments. It was very challenging. Because of course you want to make sure that she is getting the highest quality of representation. And thankfully our team here, being that we are skilled and specialized only in disability, we were able to quickly navigate exactly what paperwork is needed, what was needed to show in order to expedite her claim under what's called the compassionate allowance for Social Security applications to make that process even quicker because of her diagnosis. Had that not have happened, potentially the process would have been a lot longer for her. And who knows what that might have looked like. We also made sure all the paperwork was turned in quickly to help speed up the process, and also made some arguments at the beginning about her cancer and that she met what's called a listing under the Blue Book definition of Social Security claims at step 3 of the disability process. And so all of that worked to make the process quicker than normal, which allowed me to then be able to really focus on her, getting her to her appointments, seeing specialists, getting the treatment, and trying to enjoy life as much as possible. So I really tried my best to juggle all of the things. It truly was not easy, but we made it work. And I'm really grateful that I was able to do that for her.
I'm sure she's very proud of you, everything you did for her. I'm sure she's grateful. And then she's looking down at you right now, smiling.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I know that I vividly remember being there for her, being able to even just like rub her feet and make her feel comfortable during those, especially the last, challenging days and weeks. And, it's so important to not just keep that lawyer hat on and know that, at the end of the day, this is a person, and we think that way about our clients too. This is a person. This is someone who needs you. And sometimes just being there for support is the most important thing you can do.
And then you use these seeming tragedies to as a springboard to start helping other people.
Yeah, I certainly try my best, and I do feel like it has allowed me to be an even stronger advocate for my clients. And I think that's the same with you, Emmanuel. I love following your journey, and I think your experiences really help to mold you and shape you into that really strong advocate in your line of work. And I think there's something to be said about that. Having to have gone through the process yourself or gone through some pretty serious challenges, whether it be in your upbringing or at some point in time in your life, and it helps to make you a stronger advocate. I
Yes, it
agree.
does. And you knew you were going to become a lawyer as a child. How did you come about that knowledge, that certainty?
Well, I think if you ask my father today, he may tell you that he knew from when I was a toddler, some of the arguments that I would perhaps bring forward to negotiate my snacks at the time or something along those lines. But I do think that, just, fighting for the little guy, standing up to bullies, all of these things, in looking back in retrospect, I think that I always knew I possessed those, that skill set, and that desire to help, which, I think having the career I do now, it was really perfect.
So even while you're in college, you already knew that was a springboard to go into law school.
Yes, I really did. And as I mentioned, martial arts is really big in our household. It's big for my husband and I. It's actually how we met, and it's also something that my children enjoy and are very passionate about, which is very exciting to see and to kind of watch that through them. But um, you know, while I was learning martial arts and being certified as actually a kickboxing instructor, I met a lot of people through that opportunity that really allowed me to see that, there are a lot of people in need. At that time, it was people who were looking for self-defense training. Maybe they were in a situation where there was domestic violence going on at home and they were looking for ways to protect themselves, or maybe they had been assaulted, and just various experience they had. And in talking with people and their life experiences, looking back, I think that was really motivational for me too, to know that I could do more than just physically help them to protect themselves, but really help to give people a voice, to learn how to protect themselves, what their rights are, what they need to be aware of to be able to really protect themselves.
So you're teaching and learning how to protect yourself while also advocating for people, teaching people how to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Wow, the protector. And what inspired you to start your own practice instead of just looking for a job somewhere?
That's a great question. So I will be honest, it was a difficult choice at the time because it was just a few years after my mother had passed away from lung cancer, and I around that time, family, as I've mentioned, has always been so important to me, but especially at that time, I knew how badly my family really needed me there to support them. But I truly knew in my heart that this was starting my own law firm would allow me to be able to represent my clients in the way that I knew that they deserve to be represented. It would allow us to really focus on our team and on the client journey, the client experience in the way that we wanted. And so I'm really grateful for having the experiences that I did have that led me to that point in time. But I think that I was finally ready to start that journey, and I knew it would be difficult. But I also knew, as you said, that my mom would be really proud of me. That our parents would be so proud, and I'm just really glad that I did, because it has been an amazing journey. Being an attorney, but now being a law firm owner, has truly been extraordinary.
That's great. And you're not just a law firm owner, you've been a law firm owner who has been entrusted even with other firms that were either retiring or closing up. Want
Yeah.
to tell us about that?
Yes, thank you. That is not something that I would have, anticipated would have happened, and certainly not this early on in our career or in opening our doors. But what a testament to our law firm, the team we have here, and the trust that we've built in the community. We've actually had a few law firm owners approach us and for one reason or another say that, hey, we have this disability practice and we specialize in other areas of law as well, a bit of a general practice. And we see the work that you're doing. We know the reputation that you've built and how you've been able to help so many clients win the benefits that they deserve. And actually have approached us to take over their Social Security disability practice. So we just actually wrapped up the third practice that we took over in roughly the last year and a half. And with each experience, we've grown and we've helped build those systems that are really needed to help streamline the process, make it a smooth transition, both for the law firm and for the clients. And so we're really proud of what we've done with that. And at the end of the day, it really allows us to be able to help more people in achieving our mission, which ultimately is to improve lives. By helping more people, we're improving the lives of those that we help in our community, getting the disability benefits that they deserve as quickly, as efficiently, as painlessly as possible, helping it to be really a journey that they actually enjoy and that they feel confident in, the team that we have here, and then improving the lives of our team, employing people here that truly care. I always say that I can teach the law, right? This is my area of focus, my area of specialty, something I'm so passionate about. I can teach someone how to represent clients in the best way possible for their disability benefits, but I can't teach compassion. And so that's really something that I feel you either have or you don't. We're really focused on building a team here of compassionate, genuinely caring people who can help our clients in some of the most vulnerable, difficult, challenging times in their lives.
Congratulations, and congratulations.
Thank you.
For giving yourself the privilege to help those who couldn't help themselves.
Thank you.
And what is disability law? What does it entail?
So monthly disability benefits were actually established by Social Security amendments in 1956. So it's been some 70 plus years. What we do here is help individuals who are disabled, who are no longer to work, gainfully be employed, receive the disability benefits they deserve through Social Security. I also mentioned through the Department of Veterans Affairs as well, if you are a veteran. And so for Social Security benefits, there are a number of disability programs that exist. There are Social Security disability, supplemental security income, and those two are the most common. So I'll get into that in just a little bit. Those are the most common programs. Then there's also programs like disabled widows benefits and disabled adult child benefits and others as well. So the most common ones being Social Security disability or SSD and supplemental security income or SSI. And these are programs that are established for individuals who, as I mentioned, are no longer to be able to work full time or gainfully be employed due to their health problems. And in the case of SSD, the individual has worked long enough and recently enough to be able to qualify. So what I mean by that is as you're working and paying FICA taxes, you are essentially paying into this insurance program that you have. And eventually, if lucky enough, you'll be able to collect retirement off of that fund. But in the case of a person who's been paying FICA taxes and they're no longer able to work before their full retirement age, you can collect Social Security disability benefits. So these are benefits that individuals are paying into and many times don't even know exist. But it's something that you qualify for and that you should apply for right away if you're not able to work. The other most common one is supplemental security income or SSI. And this is also for individuals who are not able to be gainfully employed any longer due to their health problems. But the difference is that for SSI, even if you don't have sufficient work credits to be eligible for SSD, SSI is still available for you as long as you're under resources. And there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of nuances within what exactly that means, but it's essentially more of a welfare-based program, or it's even for children. So if you have a child who is disabled, of course, they're not going to have a work history, but they may be eligible for SSI payments, assuming that they have severe health problems.
Thank you. And is it possible to combine SSI and SSD?
That's a great question. It actually can be possible to receive both SSD and SSI. So, for example, in that situation, you would have an individual who perhaps was not a high wage earner. So, they are still qualified for SSD. They've paid in, they've worked long enough and recently enough to qualify, but perhaps their amount that they would be eligible for would be less than the amount for supplemental security income. And so, in that situation, that individual may be eligible to collect both the SSD amount and the SSI amount, the difference between the two. So, it's not the full amount of both programs, but if the SSI amount is higher, they could reap the benefits of the insurance for both programs. So, they would be entitled to both Medicare that comes with SSD and Medicaid that comes with the SSI program. So it is possible. It's not as common, but it certainly is a possibility for people.
Thank you. How is the amount to be paid out or to be received calculated?
So it's calculated by an algorithm put in place by the government, by Social Security. And your SSD amount is based on the amount that you've paid in over your working years. Generally speaking, Social Security takes the 5 highest earning years that you've paid in over the last 10 years prior to when you apply for disability benefits to calculate what your amount will be. And it's maxed out for 2022, just over $3,000. Less than the premium that you would have to pay for the Medicare should you choose to avail yourself of or opt into the Medicare program.
Thank you. And how do people pay into this program, especially, I understand those who are employed, maybe through tax deductions. How about those who are either independent contractors or self-employed?
Mhm. So for a Social Security disability, you would still need to pay in through your FICA tax dollars. So even if you are potentially self-employed, however, you may be an employee working for an employer, as long as you are paying FICA taxes, that is your contribution to be eligible for retirement one day through Social Security and also Social Security disability one day. If you are not paying FICA tax dollars and you are therefore not considered insured for Social Security disability and retirement, you still may be entitled to the SSI program, which again is based on resources and financial need. And for 2022, that amount, the full amount, is around $841. Usually goes up a little bit every year based on COLA, cost of living adjustment, but that's the amount for 2022. So even if you're an independent contractor and maybe you are not paying FICA taxes, it's not all lost. You still may be able to qualify for SSI payments.
And is the law universal across the United States, or is it different from state to state?
It is. So Social Security disability and the way that disability is determined is the same. It is a federal program. So no matter where you live, even if it's outside of the country, let's say you've paid in enough sufficient FICA taxes and through the United States, you still are eligible to collect your Social Security disability benefits. And the criteria for proving whether or not you are disabled is the same from state to state or no matter where you live under the federal disability program.
Thank you. And how is disability defined?
That is a great question. So as I mentioned, there's steps for the disability entitlement for the program, and there's 5 steps. So the first one looks at whether or not you are working, because of course, if you're working, let's say full time, 40 hours a week or more, then you're not going to be able to prove disability, at least at the application stage. And there are some exceptions if maybe you test your ability to work or try to work down the road that exist. And there's quite a few modifications and amendments that have been made to that over the years. But that's the very first step. The second is whether or not you have a severe medical impairment, whether you have at least one diagnosis or medical conditions that is so severe that it's going to impose serious work-related limitations. So, for example, I mentioned, my mom who had lung cancer, and that's a pretty extreme example, of course. My father had suffered from heart attack and stroke, and he is currently dealing with seizures. Those are all examples of impairments that could come with serious limitations for your ability to work. But others could include back pain, depression, carpal tunnel. There's an array of impairments that could limit your ability to work. So that's the second step for looking at disability. The third is whether your condition is so severe that you meet a listing, which is basically a blue book definition for disabilities that Social Security has come up with in working with doctors over the years. And revisions have also been made to the blue book definitions with time as well. Things are being added, conditions are being sort of qualified, but you can always look to that to see if maybe your condition falls under the category of a listing at step 3. If it does, and you meet a listing, the disability analysis ends there and you can be found disabled. If your condition is severe still, you have limitations that are precluding your ability to work, but it's not severe enough to fall under that listing criteria, then the analysis proceeds to steps 4 and 5, which are whether or not you can go back and do the work that you are used to performing over the last 15 years. And even if you are not capable of performing those jobs, whether you are able to perform other work or you have skills that might transfer to other jobs that exist. And that's where most people get denied, is that Social Security will determine that, all right, you have a severe health problem. We understand that you have back pain and it's going to limit your ability to stand and walk and lift. But we do believe that you can do some sort of a job like a greeter at a Walmart, for example, or, you can do something less demanding than you're used to. And that's called a medical denial and something that we can help with here.
Well, it happened in a situation where I understand, of course, they can say you can work as a greeter or do this or do that. But then if, let's say you have good education and those kind of jobs will be a form of underemployment to you, how is that handled?
So carefully, because Social Security, unfortunately, takes a really strict, really an unfairly strict, in my opinion, view at workers who are used to skilled occupations. It could be a skilled worker in skilled trades. It could be, someone who's a doctor, a judge. There's a wide range of skilled occupations that you have to learn, on the job training for many years or going to school for. Unfortunately, Social Security doesn't look at that when they're looking at other jobs that you can do, especially for an individual who's under the age of 50. You have to be able to prove that your health problems are so severe that you would be unable to do even a very simple job, like a sedentary type job that is very simple in nature. And so that's where there's a lot of confusion and where a lot of people get denied. And so one of the things that I think we do a little bit differently too is really taking a look at the individual's past work. We know that Social Security only looks back the last 15 years. So what specifically did that client do? Sometimes Social Security misclassifies the person's past work to the disadvantage of the claimant, as you can imagine, unfortunately. And that's where really strong advocacy and being really careful and intentional in what we're putting in forms and claims and applications and appeals, because you don't want Social Security to mischaracterize anything, the skills that you've acquired, and you want to make sure that everything is accurate. But when the individual does turn age 50, so from age 50 until your full retirement age, the rules do become a little bit more relaxed. And that's where sometimes you can use those skills sort of to make different arguments to help prove disability in that case.
Thank you. Are mental conditions considered as disabilities?
That's a great question. We get that question all the time. Yes, absolutely yes. Mental conditions sometimes can be just as severe, if not more severe, than the physical health problems. But keep in mind that Social Security must look at everything, even the non-severe, when they are evaluating an individual's ability to work. So many times with individuals who perhaps the mental health problem is their only disability, or perhaps they have a combination of mental, cognitive, and or physical impairments, Social Security must look at everything unlike perhaps other areas of law. So it's really important. And a lot of times limitations that might flow from, an individual who has mental impairments, whether it be post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, bipolar disorder, schizoaffective disorder. A lot of times those can be work preclusive and really limiting. And some of the limitations that we see that could be work preclusive and really help qualify that individual for disability would be difficulty getting along with other people, difficulty dealing with any kind of stress or changes in like a routine, even simple work setting, difficulty maybe leaving your home, getting out of bed sometimes, difficulty with concentrating and focus, being able to maintain focus. That's important no matter how skilled the job is. You have to be able to maintain a level of focus. And most vocational experts will tell you that, even for simple unskilled work, you must remain on task at least 80 to 90% of the workday. So yes, absolutely. And I would love to talk about, the ways that individuals with mental health problems can qualify, because I feel that there's such a big stigma surrounding mental health and benefits for those and resources available for those struggling and getting treatment when needed. It's really important.
Thank you. What are the kind of assistance that you render or give to people whose disabilities has to do with mental health?
So actually, we're really excited that pretty recently we launched a mental health map. It is an interactive map that's on our website. So it's on our disabilitylawgroup.com. And if you go to the resources page, there's a tab there for the mental health map. And this is a map of Michigan. And what we've done is we've compiled resources and mental health facilities that will treat individuals for free or low cost. And there is at least one or multiple resources in every single county. So it's interactive in that you can plug in your zip code and it will show you exactly a list of some resources, at least a place to start, because it can be very overwhelming. We realize that. And it's something that, that we hear time and time and again is, I don't know where to turn. I don't know where to start. So we want to give our clients, or really anybody looking for a place to start, something more and something to go to. Sometimes it just takes that first phone call. It can be really scary for people, and we want to try to alleviate that. So we do have this mental health map. It is of Michigan. But in addition to that, we're available. We're here to talk to people who, even if you live elsewhere in Ohio or any other state, we're going to do what we can to connect you with those resources to, get you a place to feel heard and to get the treatment that you deserve.
Thank you. Do you work within the framework of the American Disability Act?
That's a whole different animal. It's a whole different court system. So we don't, but we've been very fortunate to pair up with attorneys. We're very careful and selective to make sure that we're pairing up with attorneys who specialize also, in different areas. And so a lot of times our clients who we help get the benefits may have a question about the ADA. So we make sure to pair them up with attorneys, that are well regarded. And same thing with injury law firms like such that you run, law firms like yourself, who we are confident in the work that they do and the service that they provide to the clients. So we're very selective and careful in how we refer out those types of other claims and benefits.
Thank you. Is there a nexus between disability law and civil rights?
I think definitely there can be. And I think one of the things we talked about is like the stigma surrounding mental health. A lot of times when clients might come to me and they say that they feel, they feel like they may have a civil rights claim to bring forth, and we're trying to figure out what attorneys we can pair them to. A lot of times what the problem sometimes happens is that the individual isn't getting the proper care, the proper help that they need. Sometimes they lack insight into be able to advocate for themselves. And sometimes because of that, legal troubles happen, and they just need someone who's going to be able to be there for them. And so we really take great pride in that. We're able to at least alleviate the benefits side of it and all of the paperwork and sort of the headache that comes along with that while they navigate that process. But a lot of times, yes, there's various scenarios where the individual may have a dual claim. They may be able to apply for benefits while also bringing forth a civil rights claim.
Yeah. You also work with veterans. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So Early on into my career specializing in Social Security disability benefits, I worked at a firm that specialized only in those types of claims. And I was finding it very difficult to find attorneys who could help my clients who were veterans. So my clients who are veterans that I was helping with their Social Security disability claim, they also, we identified, had a potential claim for service connection or non-service connected pension benefits. And I was finding it really difficult at the time to find an attorney who would take on their case. Maybe it was because they were already at a high rating, and they didn't see a financial benefit to taking on the case, or just maybe they weren't really accepting any new clients at the time. And that was a challenge, and it really sort of made me feel helpless. I wanted to be able to give them that resource, and it's really important. If we can't help with whatever it might be, we want to make sure we are finding that help for our clients. And so ultimately, this led me to who now my partner, Mandy Kelly. I have two partners here. I mentioned Mandy and Randall Mansour. And we brought her on at the firm at the time to help start our veterans disability practice. And this has been really, really great. I actually was down at the VA Medical Center in Detroit myself today to renew my card so that I would be able to continue helping my veteran clients and gain access to their files to represent them. But it's been really, really great because we're able to help veterans who may not otherwise be able to get the help that they need.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Do you only help them with disability benefits, or is it just something else?
So we strictly specialize in the disability process. It can be very difficult. It is ever changing and it is very complex. This is probably a big reason why there's not a lot of attorneys handling the VA disability process. So like I mentioned, we still have a resource bank for other types of questions and benefits and maybe claims that the veteran client may have. But we really have our niche in the disability process. Some of the recent changes has been in the Veterans Appeals System has been what was the legacy program, the old way of appealing claims and bringing forth claims for veterans for disability benefits is now AMA program. And this changed in February 19th of 2019, actually. And so this completely changed the way appeals are brought. And it's has its own set of flaws and issues, but in many ways it can be a good thing for veterans. It's just really navigating this new process. So we really specialize in that and in helping our veterans with bringing forth the right type of appeal at the right time and the right type of evidence needed to help them win their benefits.
Yeah. And what can you tell us about the appeal process in the event of either Social Security denial or VA denials?
Yeah, so I'll start with VA. I mentioned that the AMA program is relatively new, and now we have systems in place where you can, and also it depends quite a bit on the procedural history. So, it's really diving deep into the history of the file, what's happened, what needs to go in terms of new claims or appeals. But under the AMA now, there are certain ways that you have to bring forth in different forms a new filing based on that. There's now a higher level review. And there is supplemental claims for bringing forth new claims when you have new evidence. And then there's also different appeal avenues to the board. So once a veteran applies for VA service-connected disability benefits, he or she will receive a rating decision. And that rating decision will list your new appeal rights under AMA. There are still some veterans who have perhaps are waiting for decisions and may still be under the legacy program, although that's becoming less and less with time. But once you have that rating decision, generally speaking, you have 1 year to bring forth your appeal. It has been relaxed due to COVID. It remains still a bit more relaxed in that way, but you generally have 1 year in which to choose which appeal path you would want to take. And I would just like to add finally on that is that you just have to be really careful in terms of what you've done in the past to be mindful of that when you're bringing forth a certain type of appeal. That's for VA. For Social Security disability, you start with filing an application, you get a decision. And here in Michigan and in many other states now, if that decision is denied or you want to appeal that denial, that decision, you file what's called a request for reconsideration. That can be a very lengthy process, and it's basically another look at your claim to see if a better decision could be made by Social Security. In the event that you want to appeal that decision, it would then go to an administrative law judge, an ALJ. So you would have a hearing And nowadays it can be done by phone, by video, and a limited window of in-person hearings. If that decision is denied, we will also help with the appeals council review. And if that's denied, we will help also with the federal court, the United States District Court appeals.
So the United States District Court is the final decision maker.
You can actually continue that all the way up to the United States Supreme Court after that point, the Court of Appeals, and just take it all the way up. But it starts with filing the claim, and it must go through those sort of more administrative processes before you have that opportunity. That's
to get to the court. Thank you. And can you tell us about a case that is unforgettable, that resonated with you, that, a case you can never forget?
Oh my goodness, I have so many of these, and I've been starting to be really mindful of putting on our case spotlights on our website so that people can kind of read a little bit more about the facts of the case. But I know we talked quite a bit about mental health, and I had a situation where, the veteran was very, he was hesitant, okay, because a lot of times what I find with my veteran clients is that they've served our country, and they are used to serving others. It's been ingrained in what they do. It's been what they know day in and day out for so long. And in the case of one of my veteran clients, he came to me late for help. I wish he would have came to me a lot earlier, but it was just in his, he was just very prideful, and he didn't want to ask for help. But he was at a stage where he was, he really, really needed the help now. And I remember we cried and we talked with each other, and I explained very clearly. I sat down with him and told him, like, this is, even though this is a situation where other attorneys said that they could not help him because of certain facts of his case and the appeal system, I was going to take on this case, and I was very honest with him about what we could do and what we were going to try to do. And thankfully, we were able to go back a decade to get his benefits that he was deserving of. And while we were going through the VA disability process, we were also able to help him with his Social Security disability benefits to get that while he was waiting. And it really helped him avoid potential homelessness, and a lot of more difficult challenges for him, and just get his life back. That story sticks with me, but there are a lot of them, and it just fills me with so much joy. I really, really do love the work that we do here and get to help people.
Wow. Thank you for doing that. And what does it feel like to be the gap, the bridge for these people who are not able to help themselves, but for you?
You know what? I speechless at times. I mean, it's overwhelming feeling with pride, really, and just joy. I know it may sound cheesy, but you get this look into people's lives who, again, don't anticipate or really plan on becoming disabled, and they're at a really vulnerable time in their life, and they're looking to you for help, for guidance, for support in so many ways, for answers. And it's a truly amazing thing to be able to do what I love and build this incredible team around what we love, to be able to help, be that light to so many people and help give them hope. It's really a beautiful thing to wake up every day and just be healthy, or relatively healthy, and be able to be there for somebody else who may not otherwise have that kind of help. So it's truly a joy, and I don't take it for granted. I'm very honored.
And your father, your parents, they instilled, great values into you. I remember you saying that you haven't fully lived until you've done something for someone who couldn't pay you. I believe you take that into your practice and how you deal with people.
Thank you. I try my very best every day, and just inspire as many people as I possibly can to do the same, or find those people and link up with them, so that I can just build this network of caring individuals to help people.
Tell us about the 313 Project.
So the 313 Project is a passion project of ours that started with two of my closest friends from law school. And it was really a culmination of different organizations that had the same core mission, helping people, especially in around the city of Detroit, bringing together the resources, hosting free legal advice and know your rights clinics for the people in the city, and helping with scholarships. So truly, on the grounds, knocking on the doors, asking professors to donate and help so that we can put together these scholarships for Detroit high school students, while we were also doing the legal work and getting out there in the community, doing cleanup days in the city and that kind of thing. We planted over 1,000 trees one day. It was just really fun, and it was a nice mental break from like the day-to-day of law school, and reading books and writing papers. And it was just it was a wonderful way to give back. I was very lucky to have met Juliana Rivera and Isa Villarosa and Natalia Santana, my girlfriends from law school, who were in these other organizations that had the same mission. And we just decided when we were studying for the bar exam that, hey, we're not busy enough. Let's start a nonprofit. And so we did. And very happy to report that we were able to keep that going for a while. They're now all in California doing wonderful things with immigration work and juvenile justice. But it was a wonderful way to give back. And I carry a lot of those same principles with me today.
Thank you. Tell us about the chocolate factory.
So that is just a little, chocolate I keep here in my office. We have a bit of a sweet tooth here. We do like chocolate. And so, yes, I just like to be able to have a spot where people can come and know that there's always chocolate. There's always a spot to, a safe space to come and talk and hang out for a bit and, enjoy a little chocolate during the day.
The chocolate. Wow, it's been wonderful talking to you for almost an hour now, and I'm glad that you took the time to come on the show to educate the audience about what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me here, Emmanuel. Really, it's been a joy to connect with you. I'm so grateful to have met you. It's been not quite a year, and I just feel so connected, and I love watching the work you do. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, thank you for coming. And for those of you watching us at home or listening to this as a podcast, we thank you for your time. Until next time, stay safe and stay blessed. Bye for now.